Here's your First Warn Weather Forecast First, sponsored by Anderson Collision Center. Visit driveanderson.com.
It's a noticeably cooler day across the state line today, with the direction of our wind having flipped to now come out of the northwest as opposed to the south like yesterday. That has kept our temperatures below 70 degrees in many spots, including a current temperature of 67 in Rockford and Rochelle and DeKalb, as well as 66 in Janesville, now 64 degrees in Monroe, Wisconsin. But we have a lot of that sunshine out there. Still a bit of those stronger winds lasting a bit longer here into the evening. With clear skies tonight, winds will start to ease a little bit, and that will allow those temperatures really to drop out overnight, down into the low 40s for the overnight hours. A couple spots may even touch the upper 30s for those lows. I'll let you know how long the cooler overnights will stick around and when we see an eventual warm-up back on the way, coming up in your most trusted forecast a little later.
An early morning commercial fire to a popular business, how quickly firefighters controlled it, and the ongoing investigation. Plus, the State Line Fire Protection District shows its supports for two of its own, an open house bringing the community together and raising money. And gearing up for Halloween with an annual trunk or treat event, how some say these traditions keep the community bonded.
Live from WTVO 17, this is Eyewitness News at 5.
Good evening, happy Sunday. I'm Rianne Weil. Thanks for joining us tonight. Before we get to those top stories, Floridians are preparing for another hurricane. As millions of people are getting ready for Hurricane Milton, millions more are still dealing with the aftermath of Helene. ABC's Ike Adjoje reports.
People across the Sunshine State are once again filling sandbags and stocking up on supplies as another hurricane approaches the Florida peninsula.
And now we're back in worry.
Anywhere from 1 to 7 inches of rain is expected to fall before Milton arrives, likely bringing another 3 to 7 inches. Flooding, again a major concern. The governor declaring a state of emergency in at least 35 counties and is reminding everyone to heed evacuation orders.
If you're in a structure and you're hunkered down with the wind, you may be able to get through that fine. It is possible. But when you have that surge, it's Mother Nature, and you're not going to win that.
As Florida prepares for another direct hit, several states are still dealing with Helene's tragic aftermath. In western North Carolina, downed trees, mudslides, and washed out bridges have stranded residents.
Where's the help? There's people up there with no food, no water, no power.
North Carolina officials say FEMA has paid survivors more than $27 million. ABC's Gio Benitez is in the remote town of Batcave, which was decimated by Helene.
And I want you to see what's happening with this house here. It appears that this home was completely moved off its foundation. You see the chimney here. This is the chimney that's really in the ground, and there's the rest of it.
FEMA says they are continuing to move critical resources into areas where they're needed.
It's going to take time to repair the infrastructure and get access to all of the roads in the communities that either have limited access or no access at all.
More than 750 FEMA personnel and over 1,500 North Carolina National Guardsmen, as well as first responders from across 34 states, are on the ground helping with the recovery. Ike Adjoje, ABC News, New York.
A commercial fire at Wired Cafe took place around 7 this morning. Officials say tenants above the property were woken up and called 911, saying that they could see smoke coming from the rear door of the cafe. The Rockford Fire Department arrived at the scene and quickly controlled the fire. They say fire damage was limited to the business and no injuries to civilians or firefighters were reported. The fire remains under investigation. Another fire earlier this morning as the vehicle fire spread to a building in Rockford's Midtown District. According to the Rockford Fire Department, around 1:30 this morning, firefighters responded to 1111 3rd Avenue and found a blaze from a fully engulfed van that had spread to an adjacent building. Fire officials said downed power lines in the area prevented firefighters from entering the building until they could receive assistance from ComEd. Additional units were called in, totaling 31 firefighters. The fire was brought under control within 90 minutes and no injuries were reported. The cause of this fire is also under investigation. Authorities said the fire caused an estimated $60,000 in damages. Firefighters are constantly at work, as we know, and one fire protection district honored some of its members today by holding an open house. The Stillman Valley Protection District held a fundraiser to showcase the dedication of the department, as well as fundraise for two of its members who are battling cancer. Firefighters Whitney Trosper Anderson and Darius Warzoka are each fighting their own battles along with the community's battles. The department used today as a way to honor them and show their support during these challenging times.
Firefighting's a brotherhood, it's a family. We eat, sleep, work, everything together here 24 hours every third day on most full-time schedules. So for them to really be backing us like this and to have the support in the community to rally behind us is absolutely incredible. It keeps all those what ifs in your mind, that when you start to wonder when you're in this kind of situation, what if, I don't make it out of this? What if this happens? What if that happens? It pretty much erases all that doubt because you've got such a strong support system.
Warzoka says the funds from today's event will go towards medical and living expenses during treatment and recovery. More community members were honored today with the 33rd annual Walk to Remember in Rockford. This is a memorial walk to remember children lost through miscarriage, stillbirth, early infant, and childhood death. This walk is for all families who have lost children at any time, both recently or in the past, and for caregivers who are involved in the lives and support these families. Organizers say they remember all our children whose precious lives ended too soon, and this walk helps people come together to never forget them and continue the love they will always have.
Our society doesn't do a great job of acknowledging infant death, so this gives families a way to do that, and they get support from each other, and they can honor their child at the same time.
Hagerman says they get over 200 participants each year, which she believes speaks to the need in our community. Well, Halloween is just around the corner, and some organizations are starting early. The Tinker Swiss Cottage Museum hosted its 7th annual Trunk or Treat event today. Visitors were able to trunk or treat, as well as experience games, live music, food trucks, and tours of the museum. The museum says this is a great way to kick off spooky season because it gets everyone excited for the rest of the month. And one member says these events help continue old Rockford traditions to the new generations.
I think it kind of goes back a little bit to early Rockford history where trick-or-treating was a huge event, and trick-or-treating is still popular, but you kind of have lost that community focus, whereas here we have various community partners all getting together for a one location event, and I think people really enjoy having that community feeling again.
Hockman says last year's attendance was over 700 people, so their goal was to make it even bigger this year. Election day is within weeks, and both campaigns are working hard this weekend. Where they are and what topics they're focusing on coming up next.
Officially, our high temperature will go down in the mid-70s for many of us, but that was shortly after midnight. We've been stuck in the 60s throughout much of the afternoon. Well, you know how long the cool trend is going to stick around and how long it may be before we see any rain again. Coming up in just a few minutes.
You're watching Eyewitness News, your home team, with Rianne Weil, Drew Collins, and meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
As Election Day nears, both campaigns are focusing on swing states, which are extremely crucial to their success with the race closer than ever. Former President Donald Trump returned to Butler, Pennsylvania for a rally with supporters. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris visited North Carolina to see some of Hurricane Helene's devastation. ABC's Chuck Severson has the latest.
Former President Donald Trump returned to the site of his first assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday.
I want to just let you know that tonight I returned to Butler in the aftermath of tragedy and heartache.
Heightened security felt across the fairgrounds with visible Secret Service snipers poised on top of buildings. Trump thanking them for saving his life.
And in that moment, those agents displayed a devotion to duty that cannot be described, and they did it yet again less than 3 weeks ago.
Meanwhile, Vice President Harris traveled to Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday to survey the devastation left behind by Hurricane Helene. After a briefing at the Charlotte Air National Guard base, she visited a local donation center.
And we're putting just all hands on deck.
Thank you.
To make sure that you and your family and your neighbors and everyone have everything that they need.
Former President Trump also visited areas hard hit by Helene, appearing with Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp on Friday for the first time since Trump bashed him for standing by Georgia's 2020 election results. Chuck Severson, ABC News, New York.
And tomorrow marks 1 year since the deadly terror attack in Israel at the hands of Hamas. In recent weeks, Israel has intensified its bombardment of northern Gaza. At least 26 people were killed in twin Israeli strikes on a mosque and school housing. Displaced people in the central Gaza Strip earlier today, the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry said. At least 150 people were injured and dozens are missing. Defense Forces spokesperson ordered residents of 25 more villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate amid continued nationwide Israeli strikes in a ground operation in the south of the country. Israeli strikes have killed more than 2,000 people across Lebanon, according to Lebanese health officials. Lebanese media and officials reported more than 30 airstrikes in southern Beirut overnight. Well, it was windy but very comfortable out there today. Meteorologist Jordan Wolf is in next to tell us the weather we can expect for the week ahead.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
Well, it is noticeably cooler than where it was yesterday, as our temperatures right now have sat in the 60s for much of the afternoon. Meanwhile, we have really dry air that's also settled in, as our dew point temperatures are sitting in the 30s in a few spots. 39 right now, the dew point in Rockford, 37 in Freeport, but 66 the temperature in Freeport and 67 in Rockford for those temperatures. Now, the difference between those temperatures and dew points indicating really dry air in place, and that's also the case for our weather watcher Terry in Genoa. 44 degrees, his current dew point, 68 the temperature, winds out of the west around 17 miles per hour. We're still holding on to some stronger wind gusts, although not quite as strong as where some spots were yesterday. Right now, the Rockford Airport gusting to 29 miles per hour. Same thing out in Galena, 24 miles per hour, the current wind gust in Freeport. With those stronger winds, we're also noticing out there we have a lot of sunshine and really dry air. Now, the sunshine paired with that really dry air may continue to allow a fire risk to develop as those winds remain pretty strong. Right now, nothing out there as we look at our SkyTrack camera in Freeport, but we also start to notice that flagpole is whipping a little bit, indicating still some of those stronger winds. That fire risk lingering just a little bit longer here into the evening as winds remain pretty strong. Gusts close to 30 miles per hour paired with those low relative humidities and our dry vegetation may allow for that elevated fire risk to continue for a couple more hours until sunset, when those winds will start to subside. Right now, though, we're not seeing much in the way of fires here locally, though we have seen a few of them start to break out south of I-80 in some spots where they are seeing those warmer temperatures and drier conditions. Locally, though, we're not seeing much in the way of cloud cover either, and that's across a pretty broad region as high pressure sets in. That high pressure will allow our temperatures to really drop out overnight tonight. We're down into the low 40s, and a few spots may even touch the upper 30s for those overnight lows. We may even see some patchy frost in some areas, especially out in those very rural locations, but likely not going to hold on to that very long, as our temperatures will quickly rebound again as the sun comes up. We're only into the 60s again tomorrow, 67 for that afternoon high underneath more sunshine, and actually that's spot on for our average high temperature for this time of year. So notice we've been running really above average as of late, but we are going to start to see that more average temperature at least set in for tomorrow. Below average for those overnight lows, though, down in the 40s for the next few nights in a row, even counting tonight's overnight low of 40 degrees. Meanwhile, average 45 degrees for those overnight lows is what we typically expect to see around this time of year. A gradual warming trend continues as we head through much of next week. 67 for Monday, 72 on Tuesday, but back in the mid-70s as early as Wednesday and going into Thursday. Notice those overnight lows also start to climb, and high temperatures reaching close to the 80-degree mark again by Friday.
All right, thanks, Jordan. Well, Drew's in next with sports. He'll recap the Big Bears game as they host the Panthers.
Now, sports with Drew Collins.
Sitting at 500, a win today for the Bears would set them on the right path in this competitive NFC North battle. Hosting Andy Dalton and the Panthers, this is one of the easier matchups for the team this year. Without giving a spoiler, just get ready to see that Caleb Williams talent that was advertised. Some of that talent we've all been waiting for, so let's check it out. After the Panthers score a touchdown, it's time for the Bears to answer. Here's Caleb with a lot of time, and he finds the former Panther, DJ Moore, for the tutty, and then to tie it up. Goal line formation, and they give it to DeAndre Swift, and he punches it in. He's finally starting to find that footing in Chicago. Bears lead 21-7. Who wants more? More. Of course, he was going to have a big day against his former team, and the Bears led 28-7 at halftime. These boys didn't look back either. The Bears crushed the Panthers 36-10 at home.
I was pleased with the offense, the way they operated. For the offensive side, we really talked about being clean in terms of the penalties early in the game like we had last week. So the guys were better there.
It's just going with the growth. We're going to have some hiccups and ups and downs. It was a lot of ups today. We just need to ride that wave of being on the ups, so everything.
Let's check out a familiar face from Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. He faced the Vikings in London this morning. It was one of those Rodgers' worst games in his career, and it started all along with this pick six to Andrew Van Ginkel as the Vikings extended their early lead. The Jets trailed 17-0 in less than a minute left in the half. Rodgers would find all-reliable Allen Lazard for 6. But after a few bad plays from Sam Darnold, the Jets have the ball again. Rodgers has all day to throw, and he'll eventually find Garrett Wilson to shorten the leash 20-17. Rodgers would have a chance to pull off the comeback, but would throw yet another interception, this being the third of the game. The Vikings stay undefeated 23-17. That was the final. The Packers are in a dogfight out in LA against the Rams. In the first quarter, Josh Jacobs led a 96-yard drive that ended in his first touchdown as a Packer. In the second quarter, the Rams scored a touchdown with Kyron Williams, and the Rams got a 4-yard pick six, but the extra point was missed. Since then, the Packers have had a field goal and a Tucker Kraft touchdown. They are currently in the third quarter, Packers up 17-13. And so let's take a look at those current NFC North standings. With the Vikings win this morning over Rodgers and the Jets, they sit atop the division and still undefeated. The Lions beat the Seahawks on Monday Night Football, so they are now 3-1 and in second place. The big win for the Bears brings them to 3-2 and in third place. And TBD on the Packers as they are still fighting it out with the Rams. Goaltender Drew Comezzo is on his way back to the Ice Hogs. He's one of 12 players the Blackhawks assigned to Rockford today. Last season, Comezzo played in 38 games for the Ice Hogs. He won 18 of them, and he had 2 shutouts. He was the Blackhawks' second-round draft pick in 2020. That's sports. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, I know we were talking about this yesterday, so I had to throw it in for today. This is the Vanderbilt fans tossing the goalposts into Nashville's river after they won and upset Alabama yesterday. I mean,
number 1 in the country, and they took them down.
Insane. I mean, there was a lot of upsets yesterday, but this is just hilarious when they do this. I don't know if it's illegal, but it's really funny.
They'll probably get a big fine from the conference.
Oh, yeah, they will.
I'm sure there are plenty of donations that'll cover it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's probably fine. I mean, yeah, they ended up winning 40-35, which is a good game.
And when you have a chance to beat Bama or just one of those top dog teams that are just year after year, just stud programs, when you get a win like that, hey, it's okay with me. I totally understand.
You earn the right to tear down.
They make enough NIL, someone will cover that goalpost money. So I'm totally okay with it.
Well, anyways, how are we doing weather-wise this week?
Well, the nice thing is that we are going to see a lot more sunshine. The not so nice thing is that we're not going to see much in the way of rainfall. We do need some rain, and we do not have any on this forecast all the way through. Lots of sunshine, but temperatures starting to climb. We're still near average for Monday, some really cool and even chilly overnight lows, but we're back close to 80 degrees by Friday.
Thanks, Jordan. That's our show. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.